Today we journey back to ancient Japan, into the heart of a period marked by monumental tombs, emerging statehood, and the solidification of cultural identity. Our focus is not a grand palace or a massive burial mound, but rather something seemingly humble, a small house model, crafted during the Kofun period and dating to the 5th century. This object, though modest in size, speaks volumes about the life, beliefs, and artistry of early Japan. Over the next 20 minutes, we will explore what this model reveals about architectural design, spiritual symbolism, social organization, and material culture during one of the most formative eras in Japanese history. The Kofun period takes its name from the Kofun large, often keyhole-shaped burial mounds built for elite members of society. This era marked the emergence of a powerful aristocracy, the centralization of leadership, and increased contact with the Asian mainland, especially China and Korea. While the most visible symbols of this time are the tombs themselves, a rich array of objects was buried within them. Among these were Haniwa terracotta figures placed around burial mounds and, occasionally, intricately crafted models, such as miniature houses, which give us invaluable insight into daily life and worldview. This particular house model was discovered in a burial context, likely as part of a ritual offering. Made from clay, it is an example of Haniwa, though it stands apart due to its representation of architecture rather than a human or animal form. The model shows a building with a gabled roof, elevated base, and intricate wooden framework. Though it is not a working structure, it captures the essence of 5th century architecture, suggesting a home or perhaps a granary, raised above the ground to protect its contents from moisture and pests. Archaeologists believe such models served more than decorative or educational purposes. They may have symbolized the eternal home of the deceased or served as spiritual vessels, representing a continuation of daily life in the afterworld. Let us take a closer look at the design. The roof is steeply pitched and thatched, as seen in many traditional Japanese structures. Its exaggerated slope suggests an adaptation to heavy rainfall, as well as an understanding of regional climatic needs. The body of the house is rectangular and elevated on stilts or posts, which would have protected the interior from flooding and animals. This was especially important for storing grain or valuable household items. The structure is composed with careful attention to symmetry, proportion, and structural logic. The entrance, roof beams, and supporting pillars are clearly defined. Though simple in material, the craftsmanship indicates a sophisticated understanding of building techniques. While we cannot say with certainty whether it depicts a commoner's home or a storage facility, its presence in a burial site suggests symbolic significance, a representation of sustenance, shelter, and security. In ancient Japan, architecture was not just about shelter. It carried deep symbolic weight. The home was a place of family lineage, ritual activity, and connection to the kami, spiritual forces or gods. By placing a house model in a tomb, mourners may have been offering a home to the spirit of the deceased, ensuring they would have protection, comfort, and continuity in the afterlife. The house may also represent the ideal domestic space, a vision of balance and order that was culturally valued. The elevation of the house also carries symbolic meaning. It signifies status and respect. In many traditional societies, raised buildings were associated with spiritual purity and separation from the earthly realm. This model, then, is more than a representation of a structure. It is a representation of ideals, protection, continuity, and harmony with nature and the spiritual world. House models are part of the broader Haniwa tradition. Haniwa were terracotta figures placed around burial mounds, serving both decorative and ritual purposes. They could take the form of warriors, priests, animals, houses, or tools, creating a symbolic barrier between the living and the dead. They may have acted as guardians or as servants in the spiritual world, ensuring the deceased was well accompanied. The presence of a house model among these figures suggests that housing and domestic life were considered essential even beyond death. The deceased was expected to continue their existence in another realm, one that mirrored earthly life but was enhanced by ritual preparation. The craftsmanship of Haniwa varied by region and social status, but all shared a common purpose: to honor the dead and reflect societal values. The house model, while humble, embodies a powerful cultural truth that home is eternal, and dignity in death begins with familiarity and care. The Kofun period was a time of transformation. Social hierarchies became more formalized, political alliances solidified, and cultural exchange intensified. Architecture, including both real structures and models like this one, became a means of expressing social status and spiritual beliefs. The care taken to replicate architectural details in clay suggests that buildings were not only functional but symbolic representations of order and power. Furthermore, the use of elevated structures indicates a society attentive to environment and engineering. The adaptation of architecture to suit climate and purpose reflects practical knowledge passed down through generations. The existence of the house model in a tomb also hints at class distinctions. Only the elite could afford such elaborate burials and commissioned artworks. This model, then, becomes a statement of both identity and aspiration. Japan was not isolated during this period. Connections with the Korean peninsula and Chinese mainland brought new technologies, philosophies, and artistic practices. The idea of burial models can be seen across East Asia. In Han Dynasty China, miniature homes, granaries, wells, and animal pens were placed in tombs to provide for the deceased in the afterlife. The Kofun house model may reflect a similar worldview, a belief in spiritual continuation, supported by material representations of earthly life. However, Japanese interpretations of these practices were uniquely local. The simplicity of the model, the emphasis on natural materials, and the architectural style all root it firmly in Japanese soil, adapted to local needs and beliefs. Though centuries have passed, the house model remains deeply moving and relevant. It connects us to the ancient Japanese understanding of home not merely as a shelter, but as a spiritual space, a container of memory, love, and identity. It reminds us that architecture is not only about walls and roofs, but about relationships between people, between the living and the dead, and between humans and nature. In today's world of constant movement, urban growth, and digital disconnection, this small clay model offers a quiet lesson that true stability comes from harmony, tradition, and respect for life's transitions. In conclusion, the 5th century house model from the Kofun period is far more than a piece of ancient pottery. It is a message across time, from a people who valued continuity, ritual, and the gentle rhythms of home life. Through its form, it captures not only the architecture of an era but also the soul of a culture. It invites us to consider what we build, not just with wood and stone, but with meaning and intention. As we leave behind this ancient artifact, may we carry forward its wisdom, that home, however simple, is sacred. And that even in clay, memory lives on.